laughter. The sound of, well, you could just imagine glasses clinking, skull, and then the dulcet tones of one of the most articulate and well-spoken GMs to grace the podcast. Sweden Rolls is just beyond measure, as far as I'm concerned, as an actual play podcast. Their community is incredible. And Andreas Lundström is just wonderful at telling a story. So how about he tells a story to you, which you can tell to the rest of the people at the table. Drakar och Demoner is fundamental to Swedish role-playing. Dragonbane was launched on Kickstarter, and if I was an organised person, I'd show you the box, but it's on the floor behind me because I'm an idiot. Let's talk to Andreas about the Kickstarter, which is live right now. It's a setting and a campaign for Dragonbane, Drakar och Demoner. And I am beyond excited at not having to do all of that for myself to bring Dragonbane to the table. So join me and Andreas, and with Devious Dungeons, Foreboding Forest and the Coolest Cats. My name is Phil. If you enjoy this, hit like, subscribe. Welcome to the Dark Orb. Andreas, welcome.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are you?
I'm ecstatic, man. I don't know what to say.
Why?
Why? I mean, our Kickstarter was launched. What was it now? Let me count. I can't even think. 4 hours ago. And
How is that doing?
It's going well. We were funded in exactly an hour.
1 hour.
An hour and a minute or something like that. 60, like about approximately 6,000 British pounds or euros or dollars. And we're up to, oops, there we go. Another backer. We are just a few thousand kroner to reaching 100,000.
Which is like, in British pounds, that's £7,000. You're basically at $10,000 or so. Ish, give or take.
$1,000. Yeah, $10,000. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 10, right? Not one.
Sorry, no. I can't think. I'm so baffled. It's amazing. There were some people online talking about, you're gonna fund in an hour, and I was like, but you haven't even seen our funding goal. Most, third party, like small, independent third party people set a funded, goal at maybe 20 or 30,000 Swedish.
Yeah.
2,000 or 3,000 euros or dollars. But we set it for 6,000, 60,000 kroner, and we just smashed through it in an hour. And we might double it before this this day is ended. We know, like, it's incredible. Just as I said, like a few backers away from reaching that.
I think you might have a successful Kickstarter here. That's what we're saying.
I think we might.
So,
and I mean, it's very much because of the amazing art by Robert Alm and the incredible work and talent of Christian Lindqvist, Regin the Map Maker on Instagram, who has made maps and who has made the trailer and the teaser videos and the maps. I mean, you had the city map, the Vale map up there just before you and I came into picture. It's like,
I can show that, actually. I believe I have a copy of that here. Let me have a look. That might be the only... that's a small version. I have a higher res one somewhere. But actually, there are several maps available in the campaign.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's Windheim map, and then the big Vale map, which is the main human halfling town, city of with the island of Windheim, and then a few villages that are in the campaign.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. So I think it would be really great to actually talk obviously about the campaign, but also talk about the heritage and the history
Hmm.
and what it all means to you. Because obviously, I think I will hedge a bet and
Hmm.
say that I think that probably you've been playing role playing games for more than the last 3 or 4 years since they became popular, right?
A bit more,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Sure. Yeah.
and for anyone who doesn't know this, and I know that obviously many of our, not obviously, but many of our supporters are patrons and our Discord community members. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, the Discord link is down there if you'd like to come and talk to us. Know this already, particularly those who are from that wonderful, wonderful country of Sweden. Know that Dungeons and Dragons wasn't really a thing in Sweden. Uh,
I mean, in my opinion, that's a bit of an exaggeration. It
okay.
was a thing. It just wasn't as big as Drakar och Demoner.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when I was, 11, 12 years old,
About 10
I
years
had
ago.
just read Lord of the Rings. I'd, became interested in fantasy and stuff like that. And I
Hmm.
heard a few friends of mine were playing role-playing games, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's so cool! Can I join?" And they were like, "No, no,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
sounds accurate.
understand this. You wouldn't understand this. You can't. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
jump into a role-playing game. You won't understand it.
You can't just walk into a role playing game.
No, 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 no. That's
Yeah. No,
one simply does not walk into
exactly.
a role-playing. Yeah, so it's many of the stories that I've heard from, like female RPG players, their first experience of role-playing games being, allowed to sit and watch their big brother play. Many guys as well have that experience, of course. But I feel their pain because for me it was the same. I was locked out of role playing games for
Hmm.
it wasn't until I started what in Sweden called gymnasiet, which is when you're like 16, roughly equivalent to high school, I think, in the US. Not sure. You guys in the UK, I don't know your education system at all. It's very weird.
It's not what it was.
So I can't do an equivalent. But when you're
No.
16 years old, you start the
Yeah, it's kind of
obligatory
like a high
school
school,
system,
basically.
and then
So
you
that's
yeah
where you get those final exams, and it's where the
mm,
point where you start to specialize and decide
yeah
what you think you want to do that's going to
mm,
be completely wrong.
yeah exactly
Yeah.
and I like from for like ugh, you said it was articulate. I don't feel very articulate. My brain isn't working today. Uh, uh,
You've had a long day. I mean, you had to sit there and watch these numbers going up, and that's taxing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, worst was even the hours before. I didn't sleep much last night. I haven't
Yeah.
eaten much today. So nervous because you never know. Even though people
Yeah.
online say, "Oh, you're gonna be funded in 1 hour," you never know. Like it could be 50 people backing on 200 kroner each, and then it's like you don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know.
sure. That's definitely what I backed at.
Thank you.
So,
No, but I from just by accident. What's the word? Coincidence. Thank you. The
mm,
very complicated and unusual, obscure word coincidence was the one I was looking for. By coincidence, I ended up in the same class as a guy who had a Drakar Demoner group, and they'd been playing not only Drakar Demoner but many other RPGs, primarily the Swedish ones like the Mutant and
yeah,
and
those good ones.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Shill translation and the Merp translation and those games.
Yeah.
So I started playing with them. 94 was my
Hmm.
first game, the autumn of 94. So it will be 30 years.
Good going. Yeah, I think
Mm.
my first game. I'm literally like a couple of years younger than you, I think, and I started playing in the mid to late 90s. We started the Vampire, so similar. And I
Mm.
always went for those kind of story-based games,
Mm.
which was, World of Darkness is a great example of that, where actually
Mm.
it's story first. And
Yeah,
I
of
think
course,
there
absolutely.
there
Mm.
are a lot of games that are kind of
Mm.
that way. And of course, if you have a good GM, then
Yeah,
that will
exactly.
always be the case, or
Yeah,
frequently
that's
be the
more.
case.
Yeah, that's more a bigger factor than the game itself. Actually,
Absolutely.
sometimes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And RGM was really good at doing cool NPC voices and mannerisms
Yeah.
and weird stuff. We played a cult campaign that was
Oh, I'm
still
already
to this
jealous.
day one of the best campaigns I've ever played. He had written a campaign set in the Soviet Union in the 1930s, 20s, 30s, which was just started off as a murder mystery, and then all kinds of weird stuff started happening,
Amazing.
of course, since it cult. And it's like, I was genuinely afraid of going home after each session.
Amazing. Yeah, Cult is where I wanted to start, and in the UK they wouldn't sell you it if you weren't 18, so I ended up
Yeah.
with Vampire. So, yeah, I think I was about 16 at the time.
But Drakar Demon is definitely the game I played the most, like by
Yes.
far. It might even be so that I played Drakar Demon as much as I've played every other game combined.
So tell me about Drakar. Tell me about the what makes it. What's its unique selling point in terms of setting and I mean, system is BRP, so not
I mean,
too
I think
dissimilar
it
from.
struck a nerve in the Swedish. We're into like social realism and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and Drakar Demon wasn't high fantasy. It was
Yeah,
more, the pig farmer fantasy, with of course epic
you have
hints
fantasies about pig farmers.
no, but it was kind of like low fantasy medieval ish settings, and it it just struck a nerve, and I think it came on at the right time, just before cable really came to
Yeah,
Sweden. When
yeah,
it was released in '82, cable wasn't allowed. We had two channels. That was it.
yeah.
State television, nothing else. So in combination with there was nothing else fun to do with your imagination except running around in the forest and shooting each other with sticks.
But you could do that in a
Uh,
game, and it's much less.
yeah, exactly. Much less taxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, but and then also we have a very like community based society. We
Yes.
have a word called förening in Swedish, which
Yeah.
there isn't really a translation for it, really.
No, absolutely not.
Which is, it's not a company, it's not a community. It's a group of people who gather around an interest, basically.
Yeah.
And you have a board, and you have members, and you have yearly meetings where you vote about, like, that's so integral to the
Mm.
Swedish society that when role-playing games came along, the kids were the ones who were playing it, and they didn't really start föreningar. But as they grew older, this kind of thing started um, to really be one good reason why it kept on being a big thing, because all of a sudden you could get money to sit in your basement and play role-playing games. Like, you would literally
Yeah.
get money to buy snacks and new books and new games, as long as you had a board and you had some protocols from the
Yeah.
meetings. That's
Yes,
it.
it's kind of similar to, we do have societies in the UK, but a
Hmm.
society in the UK would be something where usually you can get non-profit or profit, organizations, if you like. A group of people get together, they might have a board or something, but that's about as far as you go. And
Yeah.
in Sweden, the kind of the very socialist kind of, in the
Mm.
literal sense, um, culture, if you like, that
Mm.
comes from the government down, means
Mm.
that they are you kind of encouraged and embraced to, kind of
Mm.
create something wonderful with the people that are around you.
Yeah.
And
And Gunilla Jonsson, who
mm,
co-wrote Cult and Mutant, she also has been talking a bit about, and I think she's onto something there. We have also something called a certain kind of basement called Gillestuga,
okay,
which is in the early 80s, before that's where we peaked with equality.
okay, yeah,
Like, we lessened, we increased the equality between the
yeah,
richest part of the population and the poorest, until about 82,
yeah,
actually. And then it started going back again. So
hmm,
it's like that's as equal as we were ever. So that meant that a lot of people were quite well off, and a lot of people had a small villa, And
Yeah.
in your villa, you had a like a kind of a basement that wasn't really. I mean, maybe it wasn't really, heat proofed. The isolation maybe didn't go all the way down there,
Hmm.
stuff like that. But you had a couch there and a table, maybe and a spare TV or
Hmm.
something, and those were perfect for 11, 12-year-old kids to
Yeah.
meet their friends. And of course the parents were like, oh well, they're not out on the town running
Yeah. Yeah.
and drinking and doing drugs, they're playing with their friends. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
great.
And they're not in the same room as me, which is even better.
Yeah, exactly. And then they found out we were all Satanists, and then they were like,
Yeah, that
they
happened.
shouldn't do it, they shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. Luckily, the religion is not quite so strong in Sweden as it is in some other countries. So that there's a little
Mm.
bit of benefit there, I suppose.
Yeah, but I
But
mean, of
it
course, I
was
mean,
definitely a
people
thing.
forget, like back in those days, like Good Friday, all the
Yeah,
stores were
yeah,
closed.
yeah,
You
yeah.
were basically, I remember
Same here.
being 8 or something, and my parents were like, "You're not allowed to have fun on Good Friday because it's
Yeah,
Good Friday."
yeah.
So,
I
like,
empathise with that.
and I was like, "But why?" Like, well, Jesus suffered,
Because
and so
so will
we
you.
have to. Yeah.
I mean, my mother's side of the family is all Roman Catholic, so I understand that entirely.
Mm.
um, we should probably talk a bit about the game.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry,
No,
everyone.
but that's a few reasons why Drakar Demoner became so great.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of panels about that with Orva Sävström and sometimes Gunilla and Mikael as well, and other
yeah.
people have been involved as well, where we discuss this at length. But it's the target group
Hmm.
being kids in their young teens or even a few years younger.
Yeah,
Um, was really a big hit because the books or boxes didn't cost that much, and it
yeah,
was easy to get one for a Christmas gift or birthday gift because
yeah.
the parents didn't really know what they were buying. So,
It
and
looked fun.
they
Yeah,
also got a great distributing contract with one of the biggest toy stores,
right, right.
or like the distributors for the different toy stores, I should say.
Yeah, so it
So
wasn't just
that
stuck in a
meant
bookshop
that
somewhere.
the Target games,
Yes, yeah.
Mutant and Drakar Demoner games, they were in every toy store.
Hmm. Yeah, we didn't have that here. You'd have to go to a specialist store, or I guess Games Workshop was kind of fundamental for it here, and
Mm.
bookstores as well, mostly, I guess. Um, so that takes us to that's a little bit of a potted history of what Dragonbane or Drakar meant to you. Um,
Mm.
Tell me about how you got from there to where you are now, where you've co-created and written a setting for this. So what? Now, for anyone who doesn't know you, for a start, what have you been doing in role playing for the last couple of years?
Well, I started a Swedish language podcast called Tärningen är kastad, the die is cast, alia
Hmm.
jakt est. And yeah, it went fairly well. We won a Phoenix Award, a Silver Phoenix Award, and stuff like that. But that one kind of, I wanted to do something in English, and they weren't really up for that at the
Hmm.
time. So I gathered a few actors that I knew, and a friend of mine, Jakob Hultkans Hansson. Together we created Sweden Rolls, which is an actual play podcast. And we decided we wanted professional actors, working actors, to be the cast members.
Hmm.
So it's so we started a podcast, and we've been playing primarily Swedish games that are published in English, which
They're the
meant that
best
we
games.
primarily play free league games because those are the most ones out there. We've
Yeah,
done some
most
cult
accessible,
and
I
some
think, as well.
western and some other stuff as well,
Yeah,
but and troubleshooters. But we primarily played free league games.
yeah.
Also because of the Year Zero engine, which makes it easier for my dear actor friends who aren't that savvy at learning new rule systems. So it's convenient
Of
as
course,
well.
that's only good for them. I mean, there's no challenge for the GM in learning a completely new system every time, is there?
Well, no, it's all them. It's all them. I don't mind plowing through rule
Absolutely.
books.
I
No,
mean,
no
the
problem at all.
challenge you have is that you haven't learned how to. Spoilers here, everyone. Andreas has not yet learned how to roll dice.
No, no. I just
Yes,
drop them and then they fall and then they're shit.
yes, it's accurate.
That's it. That's it.
So I said in the preamble, Sweden Rolls, I think is way up there. There are a few podcasts up that are focused on actual play, and some of them that are from Sweden or kind of Swedish derived, kind of corner the market in a few ways. And I think what I personally really love about Sweden Rolls, which is different to a couple of the others out there, is that you very much keep the humor at the table within the episodes. And I, having done a bit of editing myself, I know how much effort must go into producing those. Finding that right balance of I can't edit that laugh out, so why should I even bother? And
Yeah.
and you know, all the gaps and everything else, and still managing to keep the pacing there as well. So that's really great.
We were coming up towards the season finale of our season 3 of Forbidden Lands when we did the Bitter Reach, and we had to. Matthias' character was meeting his foster mother, I think, or something like that, and we just had to do like 10 retakes because we all just started laughing every single time we tried to start the scene again. And after a while, Matthias was like genuinely upset. He's like, come on, this is an emotional moment. Can you please get your acts together? But that was a moment where you felt that, you know, we can't do banter and laughs here. We need the seriousness. We need the depth.
Yeah.
We need that. But usually we try and keep the jokes and the laughter in there.
Yeah, I love it. And there are other podcasts out there. I'm not going to name names. There's so many, but you know, that really focus on the tension and the story and drama, and I love those as well. But there is something for me very special about Sweden Rolls. Let's fast forward to Windheim. So what was the foundation for that? And can you tell me all about it? And before you do that, just a reminder, we are live. So if you're watching live, please do hit like and subscribe and smash the buttons and all that sort of stuff. But most importantly, please keep those comments coming in. So for example, Joel, good to see Joel, says, it's not known for his typing. Going back to games, where you could buy a Monopoly game, you could also buy Drakar and Mutant.
Yeah.
So.
My first game that I bought was actually Mutant 2, which was just a supplement from Mutant. I didn't know that. I was like 11. I was like, oh, what a cool box. Let's buy this. And I bought it and I was like, what is this? I don't get it. I don't get it. My friends are playing role-playing games. They're having so much fun. And
how do I make this work?
You know, the lists of guns and the illustrations were so amazing, but I didn't understand jack fucking shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Windheim,
the setting. So there are many iterations of the Dragonbane, the Drakar game. One of maybe my personal favorite is the one called the 91 version, or the green box. The box
that come in 1991.
And we just kept on playing that.
Excellent.
And about 20 years ago, I wanted, because I'd created a fantasy world before. But let me get this. I'm trying to get the reflection from my computer screen off my glasses. Right?
Good luck. I thought you were just trying to show everyone your amazing T-shirt.
Yeah, this great, beautiful T-shirt.
Limited to basically only patrons have got that T-shirt. So
honored.
Yeah.
No, but I had created a fantasy world before, but that one was more for like, I want to be the next Tolkien, you know, like everyone does. You create your own world, and I'm going to I'm going to be the next Tolkien. I actually have a few chapters of what was to be, you know, a fantasy series.
A series of characters walking.
Of course, yeah. And we did a lot of role playing in that. We used the 91 version, did a lot of role playing in that. But I more and more just realized that, you know, this one isn't created for role playing. This one is created for literature, and there is a difference there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a game that, which was purely for role playing games. And about the same time, I met a programmer or something, a computer guy.
Yeah.
A guy who was good with computers, and we were going to create a computer game, so we needed kind of a beta version. So I wanted I wanted a part of a fantasy world that was isolated away from everything else, that you can have like, okay, you can start here. This is a small version of the big world. And that's why Windheim is so isolated from the mainland and from the rest of the world, because it was constructed from the beginning as a beta version for the world. I don't know. He had some strange ideas. He wanted to make a 2D game, just as 3D games were really, really blowing up and becoming really good with really good graphics. And he was like, yeah, but 2D is huge in Korea. And I'm like, yeah, but we're in Sweden. Like, what are you gonna? What? He was like, yeah, but this is 2D layers behind each other's. So if you're in a 2D map here and there's a door, you can actually go back into another 2D. And I was like, but how's that fun? Like, what kind of game could we? So
now it would be huge.
Yeah,
I think
some creative difference there ended that cooperation. So then I just went for and I was like, yeah, I'm going to create a world, and one day it will be published. And that was 20 years ago. And of course, I haven't been working on it every day since, but it's been marinating. And so, like, most of what you will see in Windheim, the Windheim Companion, was there already way back when.
In your
so
brain.
It's and the campaign, The Horn of the Dawn, is something I wrote for a group that wanted a GM for Dungeons and Dragons just after my divorce 5-6 years ago. And they wanted something super epic, and they were happy to do it in a homebrew world. I was like, I have a homebrew world, I can write something super epic for you. They wanted like the Matt Mercer experience, and I was like, well, I have Sweden Rolls. Who could be closer to Matt Mercer in Sweden than me? I actually wrote that. I don't claim it, but I actually wrote that. I became their GM, and I wrote Horn of the Dawn, your favorite title.
I'm not going to say it.
But I actually found out, because you might have said it, but I just missed it. But I actually got from Martin Allen, who told me that I just thought you'd made the same connection that Anneli did, whose mind is always so dirty. That Horn of the Dawn. I didn't know that there's an actual expression in the UK called Dawn Horn. Yeah. I had no idea. But I mean, it feels like we've committed to this now. So that's the name of the game.
Yeah. Just don't look it up on Urban Dictionary, anyone.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone watching this channel can imagine what it is.
Obviously, it's to do with it's like having one of those birds in the farm that wakes you up.
Oh, yeah.
First thing in the morning, of course.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
Ambin Silverspear stepped off the railing with a big sigh of relief. Almost a full month had she spent on the ship that had taken her from the capital city of Bastion to this obscure colony. Windheim was so far from the mainland ships, only sailed here twice a year. When the winds and ocean streams were favourable, it felt strange to walk on solid ground once more. She leaned against the corner of one of the warehouses in the harbour for a few moments to settle herself. I just love the way that you write, to be honest with you. Thank you. Not many words there, but the ones that are there are chosen so carefully that you immediately have an understanding of the setting. And I mean, that comes through with the podcast as well, obviously. But that's the first of about 1 million paragraphs on the Kickstarter. We'll have a look through the Kickstarter in a bit.
Yeah, I wanted a bit of flavor. That's a flavor text that will probably be the start of either the Horn of the Dawn or the Windham Companion. Yeah. Because I wanted a bit of flavor text, probably the Horn of the Dawn, because it's basically the same feeling that anyone coming from the mainland to Windheim would have. Like, oh my, by Thrakon, the ruling deity, I have really come to the back arse of the world.
Tell me about the town from which the Bastionites first settled and then conquered this god-forsaken island, Foamsvale.
Foamsvale. Yeah, it's the couldn't really call it capital because it's not a, but it's the main town of the
Mm.
Bastionites, and it's the residing place of the governor who governs the colony of Windheim. And the Bastionites, of course, say that, oh, Windheim is our colony, but in reality, they basically only rule over the plains and the hills up to the northeast. Their power doesn't hold sway in any of the mountain ranges. It
Hmm.
doesn't hold sway in the Trolls Woods, and yeah, so it's about half the area of Windham that they're actually controlling,
Hmm.
which is very strange for them because they're used to ruling and owning everything and pointing, and everyone jumps. They point and say jump, and everyone else says how high.
Mm.
And here it's more, they have to consider alliances with an indigenous gather hunting um, culture, and also some dwarves. The alliance with the dwarves is going perfectly well because they
Mm.
aid the dwarves who are in conflict with another dwarven tribe or clans, and yeah, basically save their asses. So the dwarves of Thimsur, the northern dwarven realm, is they're very happy that the Bastionites came. The Meal, though, the indigenous human culture of Windheim, were happy because they were also in alliance with the dwarves, the northern dwarves, and there was an alliance of those three peoples. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, these strange furs from the ferrets that live on the Meal Peninsula
Hmm.
became super popular in the court
Mm.
of the capital. So the Bastionites were like, "Hey, you're part of our empire now. You need to pay taxes." And the mule like, "Taxes? What are taxes?" And they're like, "Oh, give us a few of those first. That'll be great." And they go, "Okay, sure, here." But then, as the demand for these furs increased, so did the taxes. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the mule were in a situation where they didn't have time to hunt or gather for food because they only had time to, collect the furs from these ferrets to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So they started, like revolting, or at first protesting, but then more and more revolt. And this has, sown a very bad seed between the Bastionites and the Mule, who were previously allied, but now are, allied on paper. But in reality, there's a lot of, suspicion and hostility.
Amazing. Amazing. And so this
Oh,
is a
you asked
loaded.
about Fomsvale. Sorry, that's the
No,
that's the.
it's
We have some villages and there's
all
some
good.
dwarven cities and stuff like that. But apart from that, Fomsvale is the only real town. Actually, I mean the
Yes.
mainlanders. I mean, I think the Windhamers would call both Silver Spur and Stone Sword and
Hmm.
Crown's Head towns, but a
Hmm.
mainlander
Hmm.
would just like ah.
So the Horn of the Dawn
Mhm.
is a campaign that is set within Windham.
Mhm.
Is it all about collecting taxes for furs?
No, it's not. No, no. That's one of the backdrops, and that's one of the main conflicts of the island. But it's not. It might have some significance in later parts, but in part
Yeah.
one, it will not play a big part in the actual campaign.
Are you able to give us any idea? No spoilers, but any idea of the kind of feeling that you're going to be aiming to evoke
Mm,
across the trilogy? Because this is a trilogy,
mm,
right? So they're all going. Presuming that
probably.
the first game is going to be the first campaign is going to be successful,
Hmm.
then the intention is to at least have another part, maybe three,
Hmm.
maybe more.
Hmm.
And what you're saying is that it's not going to be three effectively movies about collecting taxes.
No, no. The
Like
first
your
one
three
is
movies
very
about walking.
diverse. It's you will says as a Swede, of course, paying taxes play a big part. Oh. No, but the part one is very diverse. It
Yeah.
it starts off with a caravan, and then you go off into it's I don't want to spoil, but we
No,
really
please don't.
try to combine a lot of different aspects of role playing games social conflicts, moral dilemmas, murder mysteries, dungeon crawling, big bad evil, saving the world, stuff like that. Maybe a big battle, depends on how the first part has a main story that's rather railroaded. I mean, people can think what they want about that, but in my opinion, I think many players are, perfectly happy with railroading as long as their decisions still make a difference, as long as they still feel that they have agency and
Yes.
choices they can make along the way.
Yeah. To be honest, if your GM is experienced, then with any luck, your players won't even know they're being railroaded because
Exactly. Yeah.
the natural progression of a story should be in that direction anyway. If it's if it's well written,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean it doesn't always happen, and especially if you've got players who are working against the GM on purpose. But there's a wonderful feeling as a GM when you set up a few options and you know that you only want them to take one path and they take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
As we are talking now, I have GM'd part 1 3 times with 3 different groups, and they've all been actually, I'm embarrassed to say this, but they've actually been ecstatic about it. They've been really excited and really loved it. And I really hope to bring that down onto paper so other GMs can provide their groups with the same experience. But having said that, it's there are 2 different places where we might end part 1. One which is the most dramatical fitting place to end it, but it might be a bit short, so I might prolong it a bit and have another place which is also dramatic and also very good, but less of a, this is the end of part 1, let's go on to the next one.
yeah,
So then while the first part is quite railroaded, part 2 I have only GM'd once. And when I did that, it was very, very much more what happened depended a lot more on what the players did.
yeah.
So I'm
So a
very
bit
happy
more
that I
sandboxy.
don't have to write that now, because if I would, I wouldn't really know what to do, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I could write part 2 as a sandbox where it's just like, these places are places that your players would probably go,
Yeah.
and then probably this or this would happen.
Yeah.
But it's much more open-ended, part 2 than part 1. So it's I'm very happy I don't have to write that now, because we have to, within the Nordic Skulls, the 3 of us need to talk at length about part 2, about how we're going to do that.
I think it'll be great. And of course, in the background, whilst the players are doing whatever they're doing, things will continue to happen regardless of what you do. It's the beauty of a well-written role-playing game. Yeah, so it's going to be great. It really is. And the campaign itself has a few items coming with it. So you've got your setting book, you've got your scenario, like adventure book. There are a bunch of stretch goals, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but you might need to unlock some of those.
Yeah, I think we've unlocked the first 3, 70, 80, and 90,000. We're just a few tenors away from the next one, the soundtrack one.
Not many are very close to 100,000.
Yeah.
So that will be exciting. So what we've unlocked so far, 4 new kins. What are kins? They're your
Kins in Dragonbane are basically races, is what they're called in Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
For me, I prefer cultures, because for me, a culture is more, you can have, if you have a fantasy setting like Windheim, where there are 3 different human cultures, they are very different.
Yes.
Very, very different.
Absolutely.
And it's better to have, I prefer the term culture. The day I'm going to make a role-playing game of my own, I will definitely go with culture instead. But
you can play as
are better
a
than race,
cheese,
at least,
or
so.
you can play as a cheese or a yogurt.
Yeah. So it's yeah. So it's those are the 4 new kins. There are the Bastionites, which are
Yeah.
a halfling / human culture. So that's also,
Yeah.
so that will be a playable kin for both, if you're a halfling or if you're a human.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
And the
And then,
meal, the indigenous hunter-gatherer culture, and
yep.
a dwarven culture, which will be specific for Windheim. Even though the dwarven um, kin ability actually fits the Thimsur dwarves very well, because they
Mhm.
are really arch enemies with their southern cousins of
Yes.
Haldem. So that kin ability would really work well with the Thimsur dwarves. But in my opinion, it's kind of a weak kin ability
Mhm.
compared to others, because it's it's so dependent on you holding grudges to loads and loads of people, and then not only do you have to remember them, but you have to meet them again, and your GM has to remember who they are, and
Yeah. It
make
gets
sure you
expensive
meet them again
to.
for you to be able to use it. Whereas the human kin ability of adaptive is, you can use it 5 times every session. It's
Yeah.
super usable. So I will probably do a dwarven culture akin that has something other, or I might just add the uh, the original dwarven kin ability. I'll
Mm.
see.
Yeah. Anything like that where everyone has high demands to track and remember things gets really literally expensive as a resource to kind of maintain.
Mm.
Not maybe on the paper, but up here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it's not
Mm.
fun. And then you unlocked adventure seeds. So what is an adventure seed?
Something I really, really love with a previous open game licensed third party product
Yeah.
from Daniel Lehto, who has done a role playing game called Adventure or
Mm-hmm.
Äventyr. No, it's not even
Mm-hmm.
called Adventure, it's called Äventyr in English as
Aventure.
well,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, Äventyr, yeah. Where he has, for every place you can go in his world, he has a box with adventure seats. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
one sentence thing, like some dwarves have been attacked by a monster who demands ransom for the return of their goods.
Hmm.
Just that, just an adventure
It's enough,
seed,
isn't it?
which an experienced GM can just pull out, and damn, like maybe a player is missing from the group and they don't want to continue the campaign. So you
Yeah.
just look at, okay, where are they? Okay, they're here. Let's see if there's an adventure seed here, and you pull up an adventure seed, um, and just go for that for this session.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Says hello and best of
Mohammed.
luck.
Hey, Mohammed. Thank you for joining. Oh, yeah.
Thank
And
you,
thank you
thank
for
you so
joining as well,
much.
Joel.
Love
I
your
didn't thank you.
profile pic there.
Yeah. He's the
Pirate
best.
mallard, pirate duck.
Ah, very appropriate.
Of course, we have the mallards in Windheim.
Yes.
There are no standard mallards. There are some mallards. If you want to play a mallard, you're probably from the mainland, because the only mallards on Windheim are pirates, and they come from the south, somewhere close to the Haldem dwarves mountains,
Hmm.
and they do raids on the Bastionite coastal villages.
That sounds amazing. You've also unlocked 5 new monsters. And you have
Yes.
this guy, Magnus Theatre. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, Magnus Seter, who is extremely keeping himself extremely busy,
Yeah.
making new monsters and new kins and
Yeah.
professions in the Phoenix role-playing game magazine, Swedish
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's really good at coming up with cool monsters. So we're going to cooperate with him and do some monsters, so I don't have to do all the work. Well, all the work. I don't do all the work. What the fuck am I saying? I'm not even
You're
doing half the work.
subcontracting.
Robert and Christian is doing most of the work so far.
Yeah.
But in
But you're
terms
you're
of,
overseeing it. You're like the grand overlord of work.
I don't know. No,
Okay,
we're
fine. You're
having
not
a
then.
great. We actually sat. That's why I'm a bit late to this, because
Yeah.
I sat together with them, and we were clicking the launch button on Kickstarter together, and
Yes.
then we just, our jaws were down on our knees when, it just
Mm.
started ticking, and we were like, are we going to be funded in an hour? This is amazing.
And lo and behold, yes, you were.
just barely. Or
And
almost.
Magnus, like almost every other person in the Swedish role playing community of creators, is just hideously nice and lovely person.
Yeah, one of the
Just
best. One of the best. We now have a tradition, him and I, that we spend at least one night doing GothCon, just drinking lots of beer and wine and talking RPGs for hours and hours and hours.
amazing.
Joel was with us 2 years ago, but this year Magnus and I, it was just me and him, and
Make me envious now.
we yeah, we were sitting at a bar, and there was like,
Oh
all
no,
of a
he's
sudden,
here. Oh
there was
no, he's here.
there we go.
Hey Magnus, love
All
you.
of a sudden, a bunch of Gothenburgers came in, and they were super rude, super drunk, and super rude. And we felt
Screw
like
those guys.
we have to go because, like, there's a punch hanging in the air here, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be aimed at us if we don't get the fuck out of here. Yeah, there was like, they didn't say anything, they didn't really do anything, but
Yeah.
both me and Magnus really, really picked up on like something's going on here. Like they are super hostile
Yeah.
towards us, not in general,
Right.
just towards us, you know.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's always a risk when you're a Stockholmer out in the night in Gothenburg. You
Of
might
course,
meet
yeah.
a Gothenburger who's
Civilized people. And then we were on the cusp of some pre-gen characters, which will be very helpful.
Oh yeah.
For getting your game to the table for one shots or whatnot.
Yeah, because we think that it might be a good help for new players if they have some pre-generated characters with some help with the background. It's perfectly fine to create your own characters and have them come from the mainland and just write your own backstory. That's what I love about this setting as well, because since you are since most of the characters will be newcomers coming to Windheim, you could basically create your own little forest on the mainland, because the mainland is so big, and you can just say, well, my character comes from this wood here, and it's that and that, and it's, yeah, of course it's been colonized by the Bastionites, but
of course it has.
But we have some autonomy. You know, it's an empire, it's not a kingdom, so it's you know, many parts of the mainland have some autonomy, and you could basically create in your head just a small little place from the mainland where you come from, if you want to. But if you don't want to, and want a more extensive background for a character, and you want to play the Horned Dawn with some pre-generated characters, we will make them, and we will write a backstory, and Robert Allen will make an illustration for it.
Amazing. Sounds incredible. 110,000 crowns. Some person called Andreas Lundström.
Oh, what a tosser.
Andreas Lundström, creator of the official soundtrack for Dragonbane Drakar, will create new music specifically for Windheim.
Yes.
Is he any good?
I mean, he's all right. I mean, it's not my personal favorite, but he's all right.
Yeah. I've seen him live.
No, but I think I can.
I've seen him perform live. He was pretty good.
Oh, well, yeah, you have indeed, yeah. No, we'll do some songs and some tunes and some ambience. I will probably, you know, I don't feel restrained by Free League at all. They're super, super good to work with. They're very, very, very. Someone says it's quite hard to hear you, Phil. Maybe you need to increase the volume. No, but Free League is super, super good to work with. They're super chill, and you know, of all the soundtracks I've made for them so far, they've sent back one song, and that song was a bit of a stretch. I will happily admit that. I was, you know, just trying to go out on a limb a bit with that one. So it was a long shot from the beginning. But apart from that, they loved everything I've made. So I don't feel restrained. But with doing a Windham soundtrack, there would absolutely be no restraint, because I can do whatever I want. If I want to do something super crazy, I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see. We will see what I have some general ideas. I didn't really know if we were gonna, you know, as it seems now, of course, it's just the first few hours. Of course, we will probably reach the soundtrack. So I have some ideas, but I don't even have half a song, you know, started proper in Logic. So it's going to be fun to do that. And I need some time off from
Great.
writing as well. I mean, I'm going to be writing a lot of pages and translating them as well. So I need some. As soon as I finish the official Dragonbane soundtrack, which will be hopefully in about 2 weeks, and maybe it'll be another week until it gets out to the backers. For me, it will be really great for backers to get it before our Kickstarter is out, because then people will talk about it hopefully, and then people hopefully will talk about our Kickstarter as well. Yeah.
They might. We'll work on it. So tell me, in your writing process, are you writing in English or in Swedish first?
I will be writing in English first. I think that's for me, English is much freer to write in, because there are 4 times more words. So for every Swedish word, there are 4 English words to choose from.
You've got compound words. What are you talking about? No, I understand. And certainly, a lot of fantasy fiction, of course, is written in English, or English first.
Yeah.
So it kind of paints it's
And of
easier to
course,
kind of access that.
it's not my mother tongue. So I also think that it will be easier to translate from English to Swedish than the other way around.
Yes, absolutely.
Plus, maybe the biggest reason is I need to produce text for our playtester GMs, and that needs to be in English.
Yeah,
2 of them are Swedish, but if I would write in Swedish for them, I'd have to write in 2 languages from the get-go. So I'd much rather write the whole thing in English, and then when it's finished, translate it.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that makes it easy for Christian as well as doing the graphic design, because then he can do the books in English first, and then hopefully I will be able to keep within the same approximate amount of characters, and then he won't have to change the graphics much between the 2 languages, hopefully.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then you're looking at 120,000 crowns extended history. So 4 more pages on the history of Windheim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One thing I love to do when we're looking at new books, new settings, is take a little bit of a dive into the art. So we don't have to go into a deep dive, but I've got a bunch of images here from the campaign, and I wondered if you could just give us maybe a sentence or less on each of these, and what each of these images means to you, even if it's
I'll
just an
certainly try to keep it less.
Even if it's just emotive. You don't need to explain what it is, but the GM's thought on what feelings are being conjured. So we can start with we have to start with the pirates.
Yeah, the pirate mallards. Oh, with their red mohawks. You can't see that because it's black and white, but they have green feathers with a red mohawk. And it's just this image by Robert Alm is just like, look at all the details. Look at the raven's beak in the belt there, or in the hands. I think it's holding it actually, because what you see primarily is it's a big pirate saber, but then you see the raven's beak weapon there on the other hand, and the several daggers, and the mallard skeleton face, and the
So cool.
and the prow of the ship there with the mermaidish. Yeah, sorry, that was a lot more than one sentence.
No, but it's important. Muhammad says, "Yay, yar!" The map.
Yeah, and that's Foamsvale, the main town of Windheim. We will try and write as much as we can there. We just there's just so much there. There's so much that Christians put in. I mean, I'd say, I don't know, Christian might berate me, but I'd say maybe 50-50 is him just putting in something really cool and me looking at the map and going like, what's this? And he's like, either he goes, I don't know, what is it? Tell me, you're the writer. Or he says, well, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a ... and half of it is like me being, we have to have this, or we have to have that. And he is just, I can really imagine when people talk about Nisse Gulliksson, the main artist for the old Drakar Demoner, and whose art laid the foundation and was actually a stretch goal to create the role-playing game for Forbidden Lands. When people talk about him, they always talk about how fast he was. They asked for an illustration, and then he sat down for half an hour, and then boom, there it was. And the Christian is just the same, but with maps. It's like, I ask for a change or a a new nuisance. No, nuance. Sorry, I'm the nuisance. I'm a nuisance to him. But I asked for some nuance or for a change, and then like boom, 10 minutes later, I get it. It's
Yeah.
like it's incredible. We have the arena where there are gladiator fights and other stuff. We have the observatory where there's a nutty professor looking at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
We have the main palace, which any mainlander would look at and just palace that looks like a barn to me. And we have the
Nope,
big
it's
main
Palace.
Thrakon temple. Like every Bastionite town, village, or city has a main square, and around it is always the residence for the person in power. There's a Thrakon temple, there's the main inn, and there's a bank, because there's a bank system
Yeah.
that Bastionites have, which is really well developed. And then the town is built out from that.
Yes.
There's a lot of things here. There's the sea elves has the gigantic oak tree. I think it's oak at least, with branches sticking out into the water where their ships dock. And it's a lot of things. Prison. There's the princess tower where a princess was said to be, hiding from. Yeah, I won't spoil too much, but there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
There
I'm only
is.
scratching the surface.
And something you might find in the town.
Yeah, this is a scene from Foamsvale. You see the Thrakon temple there in the background, and you see some adventurers talking to another adventurer, pointing the way to direction. And I think we are definitely leaning heavily towards this being the cover for the Horn of the Dawn. A bigger image though. This is a zoomed in.
Yes, a crop. Yeah,
it's cropped. That one was actually created by Robert for my Swedish podcast, Tärningen Kastad, about 6 or 7 years ago. A halfling for when we were playing the One Ring. But since he had, for one person to create art for 2 books, that's a lot to expect.
Yes, absolutely.
So I was like, we have a bunch of illustrations that are amazing, and we should use them. It's the same with he was, I'd like to call him the main illustrator for the Magic Box from 1990 for Old Drakar and Demoner. He doesn't like it, but I'm going to keep saying it anyway, because he was making all of the main big illustrations for that one.
Yeah.
So same there, like because no one has the rights to that, so we can just use it. If anyone has the rights to it, it's him. So we're going to use some of those. We're going to use some of those he made for Tärningen Kastad, and this is one of them. A halfling that has gone out to search for healing mushrooms, only to find that they are actually growing on the head of some kind of sea monster.
Amazing. Andreas, as a musician...
That was a lot than more than one sentence, sorry.
I'll allow it. As a musician, I need you to do something for me, though, and you can choose here. Either a drum roll or some kind of fanfare, please.
Okay.
Just simulate one for me now. We are looking at 102,000.
Oh, there we go. Amazing. I can't believe it. 131 backers in just 5 hours.
Yeah. I'd like to pretend that we did that together today. Let's have a look at the campaign. So, there's so much information here. You've got to check it out. We've barely scratched the surface, even with all
because
of that.
since we're new, and to most people, at least in the sense of being publishers, we want the people to know what they're getting in terms of art and stuff like that, and what we want to do with it. So, and what they're getting. We don't want people to be like, oh, we're backing this because they have 3 cool illustrations or a cool trailer, and then it's the products are shit. So we want people to know exactly what it is they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's maps. These are add-ons. So you've got those 2 books, and there's a map within the Windheim Companion, the Horn of the Dawn, and the Windheim Companion. are the 2 books, and then you've got the stretch goals we spoke about already.
Mm.
Then add-ons at the moment, we've got the maps, extra
And
copies.
those are included in the Theme Sewer Treasury tier for
Yes, yeah,
890 Swedish kroner. And I mean, if the stretch goals are going on like they do now, I can tell you that the Theme Sewer Treasury might be maybe one of the most what do you call it? Like most profitable, most well priced, most well. I mean, the amount
highest
and
value.
yeah, the highest value per krona. I mean, you're gonna get so much if it goes on like this, because like if it goes on in the rate it's going, we don't even have stretch goals for where we're gonna end up if it follows the
Where we're
standard
going, we don't need
curve.
goals.
We have some more goals planned for if we would reach this, but yeah, if it follows standard Kickstarter curves, we will have to come up with some more.
I can think of some for you. It's fine. I can't promise they'll be very cost effective.
Well, that's the thing now, isn't it? It has to be cost effective. It has to be things that doesn't slow the project too much.
Absolutely, that's the main thing: is slowing the project down and getting to a point where you're either not covering costs or delaying things too much. Yeah, that's really it. We should look into. I'm aware that we've talked for a long time. We should look at the pledge levels. So we'll start at 190 crowns, which is £15 for the PDFs. I'm going to go so far as to say I think you could have gone higher with that.
Yeah, that
It's
was one of the
expensive to
ones
make
we were
books.
talking a lot about because it's
Yeah,
not really a cost for us. So
yeah,
we will basically be giving something that we've already made anyway.
yeah.
So we looked at some other Kickstarters, and there was a big difference
Yeah.
among Kickstarters how to price that. But yeah, we
I
ended up
wouldn't have gone
going.
any lower than that. Let's put it that way.
We ended up going for that.
Yeah,
Because we also want to make people feel that they get a lot for what they're giving.
absolutely. So for £15, 190 crowns, you get the 2 books on a map. Can't see what the third thing is. Horn of the Dawn, and old digital stretch goals. So
Yeah, I
we'll
don't think
find
it's
out
in a
what that
map. I
is.
think with the digital ones, because we want to, the maps are all included in the books.
Yes.
So if you have a digital PDF, the maps will be in there, but they will be included in the book, so they won't be as high resolution as the ones that you get from a printed copy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something to maybe look at providing separately. As a separate PDF, I mean. So then we have let's do it this way. I forget that they've kind of revamped how the Kickstarter site works now. So yeah, that's digital adventure. Then the meal
Meal,
mile
yeah.
meal hunter,
Mhm.
Horn of the Dawn companion in physical copy,
Mhm.
the PDFs, all the digital stretch goals.
Mhm.
By default, that's what you get,
Yeah.
and you can actually see all the
And you
add-ons
get
as
you
well.
get the PDFs in both languages. There was a backer wondering, like, can you add a PDF in a different language as an add-on? And we were like, no, you get that. You don't have to pay extra for that.
That's
You
cool.
get a PDF in both languages if you back the physical products, for sure.
Yeah, that's really good because it matters for some people.
Mm.
The Tim Zur Treasury.
Hmm. That seems to
Theme.
be the most popular one. I get that because that's the one that's really well priced, especially
Yeah,
if we reach some of the upcoming stretch goals.
absolutely. So you get physical copies of Horn of the Dawn,
Hmm.
the Windheim companion, the map.
Hmm.
So you get the map of Windheim, the region map of the pass of Northern Silver Spur, the town map of
Which is basically
Foamsvale.
the area that covers part one of the Horn of the Dawn. So it's
Yes.
basically a zoomed in, more high resoluted version of the Windham map with some additions.
Then you get the town map of Foamsvale, which I think is the thing that's behind here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what we were looking at earlier on.
Hmm.
You don't need that now because Andreas has told you everything that's on there. So
Yeah. Shut up,
Plainsville.
Andreas. Let Phil speak for a moment.
I mean, you're the guest. I'm just here to facilitate your words. the town map of Vale's End, and some PDFs.
Yeah. There are two villages that are, especially one, Vale's End, which is kind of central to the story, and you need a map for that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be running around back and forth between different buildings a lot there. So it's so that one's really good to have as a printed copy when you're playing the Horn of the Dawn. It's going to help you. It's going to help you a lot instead of opening your book.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of maps. The only challenge is I like maps in a physical game, in person, at the table, but then you end up paranoid that someone else is going to ruin your map, like by putting a drink on it or spilling something or cheese like football dust from crisps or whatever. And B, it's really difficult to get a game in person. Still, certainly here, it's not as easy as it used to be. Now, technically, I think the Timsor Treasury is probably technically the Phil level, but there is on top of that. So the Phil level, for anyone who doesn't know, is the level that Discord for the Dark Orb have decided is the level that they think that I would back at. And technically it would be that. But we also have Baron of Foamsvale, which is the same as the Treasury, but you get to create or co-create a non-player character.
Yeah.
And wow.
We have 6 there already. I think we set a limit to 12, I think.
12 or 15.
15, yeah.
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 I'm not going to tell you which of these I backed at, but spoiler alert, I was number 3. Yeah, so that is Windheim and the Horn of the Dawn. Creators Andreas Lundström, Robert Alm, Christian Lindqvist, the guest star of Magnus Theatre. I recommend that you Google all of these people, apart from that top guy. You know who he is.
He's just a bummer.
He's a legend. Shipping, I have now unshared, but shipping is fair. You're looking at, to get to the UK, about £16, £17. I mean, let's face it, by the time this makes it to print, it's going to be hard to guess. We're looking at currently February sort of time, but it could go either way. You just never know. When,
shipping is shipping is our biggest headache, basically, because that's the thing that we've definitely never done. So hopefully we will get some help from Alpha Spel perhaps to do shipping at least to Sweden and the EU.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But we'll see. Maybe we'll use them for UK, US, and Canada.
Yeah,
Switzerland, Norway
it's
as
hard
well.
to know. Well, I mean, there are other publishers out there that might be able to help you with fulfillment. There are plenty of suppliers in the UK that also do fulfillment. So if you get to a point where you need help in the UK, certainly then our wonderful community can point you in that direction.
Quantity, of course, like if we have to reach a certain level for them to be interested in helping us.
Yeah, exactly. Yoel was number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of stretch goals, I'm going to tell you what I personally would like, and I know that most people won't agree. For me, I would love to see a hardcover, but I know what a difference that would make to some things. I mean, it probably won't raise the price too much, but it will certainly have an impact. So maybe next time, if not this. But that's something that I would love to see.
Well, I mean, Joel already spoiled the surprise. We have it as a stretch goal at up there somewhere. I don't remember. I don't recall as of now exactly which sum, but it's up there among the stretch goals.
Yeah,
it is. We were like, I mean, especially me. I was like, since the core books are a soft cover, it's like, well, they're lying there on top of each other. Wouldn't it be cool if we had the same, format, the same and the same, soft cover?
Yeah.
But still, if when you reach a certain level, if it's a standalone book, not in a box,
I guess that's the other option.
Like that, it's good to have a hardback copy.
Yeah, but the other option is to put it in a box the same size as as the Dragonbane box.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see with
Yeah, so what
upcoming
happens.
Kickstarters how we're going to do it. But
Yeah.
we felt that a box for our first Kickstarter was, one thing too many to keep track on.
It certainly makes a big change, and having an additional item to have to kind of really worry over and
Mm,
potentially feel
mm,
obliged to replace
mm,
if it gets damaged
mm,
and all these other things. The
mm.
next SKU is always painful.
Yeah, we
Um,
really would have liked to have some kind of early bird reward, but that was
mm,
just one of the things that, there wasn't enough time, there wasn't enough experience among us to,
yeah,
calculate. Like, should we do a percentual discount? Should we do like a complimentary sticker? Should we do,
yeah.
like this or that? So
It's
it's, yeah,
tricky. Yeah,
it's tricky. It's tricky, and you will say a box is way more expensive as well. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
it
so.
is. Yeah, it is.
Maybe not at the level that Free League is at, because they, the quantity they're producing it at,
That's right.
they're
Get them
probably
to make you a box. It's fine.
really good, yeah, really good
They can
price.
afford it.
But for us, no, a
No,
box
it
is
is a lot
never.
more
It
expensive.
was never an option for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the thing about early birds is that those of us who are quick on the money, who are very quick to respond when a Kickstarter goes live, we love early bird because it it's part of that kind of impulse buy
Mm,
thing.
mm,
But the other way to look at it is people who actually are too busy to hover on Kickstarter.
mm.
It kind of it can be seen as a punishment for someone who has other things going
Oh,
on in
that's
their
true.
lives.
Yeah.
So for every one person who loves an early bird,
Mm,
actually there are quite a few people who find them
mm.
um, exclusive
That's
is not
actually
the right
true. I
word.
hadn't thought about
Excluding.
that. I
Yeah,
haven't thought about that, actually. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. That's true.
So it's a criticism I've seen a few people kind of
Mm,
levy, and I'm very much I love early birds, but I can actually 100% see how some people can find them to be a way to
mm.
discriminate against people who don't spend time on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Um,
never thought about that. That's actually a valid point.
Dice bag. Oh, a book bag.
Book bag as a stretch goal?
Hmm, something to think about.
Hmm.
Like a swag bag. Yeah,
Hmm.
keep those ideas coming in. I
Yeah,
think we
exactly.
are.
Throw me some ideas, because
Yeah,
there's a there's very high probability that we need to come up with a few. So if you have some
yeah,
suggestions, just throw them at us.
absolutely. And to that mind, how can people reach you? How do people get hold of you, Mr. Lundström?
Well, I'm gonna say, we are on Facebook,
Hmm.
Nordic Cults on Facebook. If you're not on there, we're on Instagram. Probably just search for Nordic Skulls. I'm not the one running the Instagram, so I'm not that
Hmm.
sure. But you should probably be able to just search for Nordic Skulls on Instagram. If you want to email us, we're at nordicskulls@gmail.com.
Are
No
you on
dot
Threads?
or hyphens or anything, just Nordic Skulls in one word at
Yeah.
gmail.com. Or, message us on Kickstarter. Back us on Kickstarter and
Yes,
message us there.
exactly. Back on Kickstarter. So the link is down below if you haven't seen it already. It is Windheim and the Horn of the Dawn.
Mm.
And yeah,
I've
I think
googled.
you
I've searched for Windheim like 300 times
can.
pre-launch, because I was, following the increase of followers. So I know
Yeah,
very well that it's quite sufficient to just search for Windheim on Kickstarter, and you will find it very easily.
excellent. And let's have a little look again and just see how much that's gone up by now. So we're at 104,000. So it's
Really?
shooting up. I think that um is it the musician that's next? Yeah, that musician guy is going to have to do some work, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it might even happen in the next. Well, it might happen overnight.
Yeah.
Andreas, you could be an overnight success.
Fancy that. Fancy that. Yeah. I also have to make a huge shout out to Robert Alm for his
Oh yeah,
cover, the
absolutely.
Elric homage. Can we bring that up?
Yes. So we've got two. That one, the other one. Here we go.
Yeah, that one's great as well.
Here we
But
go.
the Elric homage, we were like, yeah, I think that was one of the first things we really, decided on, that
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
we want some kind of Elric homage, because, obviously the Free League has an Elric homage as well,
Yeah.
a less subtle one than ours. there was a
Yeah.
comment on social media somewhere where I was like, yeah, when we released the first teaser, which was just a 30-second teaser trailer for the Kickstarter, and I said something about, yeah, we had a small little hint, or a little a subtle wink towards Elric, and someone said, subtle, it's about as subtle as a brick.
Well, a brick can be quite subtle. It depends where you put it.
I'm not gonna go there.
I'm thinking of like in a large building, but fine, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
No
keep that
comment.
tongue bitten.
No comment.
So yeah, and then there's the two books together. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and you've got some time left on your campaign. So if you like the sound of this game, then please, please, please take some time in the next 29 days to check it out. And yeah, if you don't know Dragonbane, Drakar, then also look that up. I don't know if it's
Talk
easy to get
about
hold of right
value
now.
for a good price.
Yeah,
That box with the Dragonbane box with the core rulebook and stuff like that. It's you're gonna have a hard time finding an RPG as well priced as that one.
yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I will say that we actually had an interview with Thomas Herenstam about Dragonbane. So if you don't know it and you're interested, then jump onto our YouTube, go back in the history through all our interviews. In fact, it may have been one of the most recent, so you won't have to go back that far. And Joel and I were interrogating Thomas, the
Will can be quite insistent when he's got the mood,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you can actually still, by the look of things, make a late pledge. So I'll just show you very quickly what we're talking about in case you somehow don't know this game. Here we go. So Dragonbane, or Drakar. There you go. And
that's the Elric homage. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So you've got this great big box. It's not a book; it's a box. And let's see if there's an image. There is. So this is everything you get in there. It's great. It's well priced. You're looking at $37, £32, 400 crowns to get the core box set. A little bit more when you add things like the cloth maps and things like that, but still very reasonable. Like I said, earlier on, I'd show you it in person, but I foolishly left it behind me instead of bringing it to the desk. So it's there. Can you see it? Right there.
I haven't gotten mine yet, so I can't show you either.
Did you opt for it in Swedish?
No, English.
Well, I would have words with them.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
No, it's okay. I just need it by Saturday because on Saturday, Sweden Rolls is going to do a live show on Gen Con online.
Amazing.
On Sunday, the 6th, I think it is, of August, at 7 p.m. Swedish time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, if you have some American viewers. Yeah, we're 6 times after Eastern.
That sounds like 7 hours. It should be 6 hours difference between.
Yeah.
So 1 p.m. would be 7.
No, sorry. 11 a.m. Eastern time. And
5 p.m.
5 p.m. here.
Right.
I said 7 p.m.
You said 7.
That's when we end. So don't look at it at 7 p.m. We start at 5 p.m. Sorry. It's because in Sweden we always say 17. We say 17. So you have the 7 in your head. So when you say it, when you're going to translate it to AM, PM, I make this mistake all the time. If it's, something starting at 17, I always say 7. I don't know why. Or I know why. I'm just stupid. I don't learn. I'm an old dog. I can't learn new stuff.
We're all old dogs in this hobby.
Yeah. So I mean, it's basically the same price for the core rule box as the 2 books that we are giving out. But we're not Free League. We don't have the same deals with printers and stuff like that. So, but I will guarantee you, if you play one game a week, if you play one session a week, the Windham Companion and the Horn of the Dawn will keep you playing for at least a year, probably 2.
Because we've all got time for that.
And that's a guarantee straight from me to you.
And if in 2 years' time you find that you still haven't got that far through it and you've got extra still left over from your gaming campaign that you haven't got to the table of Windheim, Horn of the Dawn, you're only half a book in, then probably you're pretty normal, because actually it's really hard to get those regular games going. But if it's still on your table or still on your shelf, then you're probably called Phil.
And I'm not going to say that you have to do, it sounds like you have to play weekly sessions for a year and a half to complete the Horn of the Dawn. That's not the case at all. I mean, if you want to, that's like both books and all the adventure seeds that we will now put on in the Windham Companion and all that, So
and heavy role playing.
Heavy role playing, yes.
Yes.
That's what we like.
Absolutely. So speaking of heavy role playing, Andreas, it has been amazing. I'm so happy that we finally managed to do this. We've been talking about getting you on this show for freaking years, and we've just never managed it.
Yeah, sorry. It's I have
life,
a lot
man.
on my plate. I have a lot on my plate. Sorry.
It's the troubles of being a traveling bard.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So many songs to sing. So many people to meet.
All of the above.
I was about to say something else, but I won't.
Not here. But yeah, if you want to talk more to Andreas, he's given you all those places to go to. Obviously, if you want to talk to me, you can find me on all of the socials, usually at the Dark Orb or at the Dark Orb UK. We'll be back very soon. In fact, we are back on Wednesday on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Dark Orb UK, to play Dungeon Crawl Classics. We're playing a brand new adventure, well, new to us, called Van on the Run, which was a Goodman Games. I think it's like a convention scenario from last year, I think. So Judge Zach will be taking us through that. So yeah, check us out on Twitch. Come and talk to us on Discord. The link is below. I hope you've enjoyed. Please hit like, please subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has watched live. So thank you to Joel. Thank you to Not Me, whoever Not Me is, to Mohammed, to Magnus, and everyone else who has watched. Hope you had fun. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe and tune in next time. Go check out Sweden Rolls on your favorite podcasting platform, because there is genuinely nothing like it if you enjoy an actual play role-playing podcast.
Thank you. Sweden Rolls. And I'm also at RPG Podcaster on social medias.
This is true. Yeah, all of the medias. Do it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andreas.
Thanks for having me. Thank you guys for watching and for your great comments.
And we'll see you very soon. And until next time, I hope that your dice rolls continue to be way better than not only Andreas, but also mine. Take care, everyone.